master's hands for twiddling the strings of moral right and wrong.
To me, it's a way of life.
This season, we will focus on the importance of the device attached to every hand. Welcome to the Shepherd's Cast. This content may not be suitable for some listeners. Good morning, good evening, and good night, my flock. Welcome to the Shepherd's Cast, the podcast where I read my horror short stories and explain the inspiration for why I wrote them. On today's episode, we continue Ring Around the Dandy. Before we get into that, though, I have some announcements. I just want to start off by saying I'm sorry it's been so long since the last episode, but man, this has been a nightmare. I've had a lot of things going on in my life, and I've been really busy, but that's not the only reason this episode is so late. I actually had this episode corrupted, and minus the after-show talking portion, which we just recorded not too long ago, I had to reshoot everything, and that took about an extra week to get everybody coordinated and get everything re-recorded. However, we are done, and in the meantime, I've had a lot of time to write, so Vim is going well. We are almost done with this short story and ready to move into the next short story. There's also a lot of workings with Heaper. I have received the beta copy back from a couple people, and I'm dishing it out one or two more times before we move into the final edit. I'm very excited to see how this turns out. The cover reveal should be coming within the next couple weeks, I hope. I'm very excited for that. Super excited to have another novel released. I'm going to officially announce that I will be attending Happy Valley Con in State College in February of 2027. I will be at a booth. I think it'll be booth towards the back corner where the tattoo area is, but that hasn't been officially confirmed yet. That's the one I requested. We'll see how that goes. I have a couple more announcements regarding signings coming soon, hopefully, but more on that later. I don't want to keep you too much longer because we have a longer after show talking portion. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll just let you listen. Just know that it's going to sound a little different, not as crisp as it usually does, because it was not recorded in the studio. I'll leave it at that. So, be generous to my editing. Okay, without further ado, let me introduce you to round 2 of Ring Around the Dandy. Ring Around the Dandy, round 2. Narrated by the author. The voice of Nicole by Jess Booher. The voice of George by Dekota Ronk. The flower had regained his composure by the time he came back into frame. It spoke to them both directly.
Well, friends, it seems that you've both reached round 2. Just remember, regardless of how many of you die, you will have to finish all 3 rounds. Before we do that, however, we must talk.
A rocking chair appeared behind the flower. It was positioned just out of the light, such that it rocked ominously into and out of the shadows. He sat in it, mimicking this abrupt change of contrast. In the light, out of the light, in the light, out of the light. This repetition went on in silence for a few seconds before he swayed into the light and planted his feet. A pipe had appeared in his mouth. It was already lit, and as the flower puffed on it, small mushroom-shaped clouds floated into the room. By now, the show has gone to commercial, said a different, gruff voice. It was the voice behind the flower. It was the actual killer shedding his disguise. So we are in no hurry. The large CGI creation faded away, leaving a man in the chair. He was wearing a black hoodie, covered in small white balls which aided in capturing his movements. Covering his face was a Vim mask with a hole cut around the mouth such that he could smoke.
Who are you?
Asked George, incredulously. Don't worry about that. The chaos that was Vim's personality seemed to fade away. The man was calm and collected, unlike his floral alter ego. Neither of you going to live through this game anyway. I just checked on our friend Jacob in the real world. He paused to puff his pipe. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He passed from shock, which means it's too late to turn back, too late to talk myself out of this insane scheme. He sighed. It only added to the depressive calmness of his voice. At least, it was him that died first. He is the most deserving. The cloud of smoke shrouded his mask as he waved the pipe around in front of his face.
Who are you?
Repeated George, this time rage behind his voice. George, relax. He hushed the man with an open palm. You don't always have to be so... The masked killer struggled to find the correct word. So wired.
I'm not gonna fucking relax. You have us tied up somewhere, torturing us with God knows what device.
It's the mushroom, George. He puffed a mushroom-shaped cloud.
What?
The mushroom, George. He stood and walked toward the contestant. There was soreness in his movement, leaving the contestants to think he was at least 50. That stupid little bioluminescent mushroom. It can tap into the synapses, you know. Allow computers to play with any little receptor I want it to.
You mean the one from Antarctica?
Asked Nicole timidly. Yes, Nicole, the one from Antarctica. Neither of the contestants could get over how relaxed and sweet he had become. His voice was akin to a podcast host with a sultry voice. It was found under the ice. It convinced that photographer to start a cult and sacrifice people to the giant Wendigo that spanned the continent. The masked man stopped himself. That is a story for another time.
What kind of monster does this?
George was speaking through his fingers, which were feeling the hole where his tooth used to be. I'm the monster. The man put his hands on his chest, acting as if he had been shot. No, you people are the monsters. The internet was a tool at some point. People used it for research, to better the human species, to educate. Now it's a propaganda machine. And people like you are powering it. He pointed the pipe at George, then returned it to his mouth.
Aren't you doing the same thing?
Asked Nicole.
Isn't using the mushroom on people not contributing to the problem?
The man chuckled. I should give your intelligence more credit, but no, that isn't the case. You see, when the show comes back on, the viewership will be at an all-time low, just because the parents of the children have figured out something isn't right. The children have cried and run away. You know who remains, though? The children, with a pair of these, remain locked in, unable to change the channel. He snapped, causing his mask to be replaced by a pair of virtual reality goggles. He removed them from his head, revealing the Vim mask once more. This may seem like an ancient piece of technology to you, but look inside. He turned them around, rubbing his finger alongside the mask of the glasses. There, an intricate weave of glowing strings changed colors. It turned from green to blue to yellow to white. The mushroom integrated into their sights. The corporation in charge of Dandy is testing them. It wants to fully immerse these children in their television show. If the television show was just about education, like it was originally intended, maybe that wouldn't be a problem. But now it feeds their capitalist machine. Brainwashing is what it is. All I did was repurpose their equipment. Hook the same thing up to a haptic vest and you get a great way to play with pain receptors. Best part about all of it is that they won't turn it off. They've invested $2 billion into the rollout of Dandy Vision. It would cripple them if they did. He looked down and checked his watch, which was a blue circle shooting a hologram of the time into the air. We must get back to it. I'll explain the second round when the crowd comes back.
Wait, why are you doing this though?
Asked Nicole, panic overcoming her again. The man snapped his fingers, turning back into the monstrous version of him. No time to explain. We're back in 5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
As the countdown concluded, his voice shifted back into a sickening tone.
Welcome to round 2, friends and flowers. It seems that our contestants are ready for the twist of the stem.
Vim looked at the contestants, who seemed much less afraid of the flower, now that they had seen the wizard behind the curtain.
Oh, they seem determined. They don't fear your dear old friend Vim anymore. I think that will change quickly.
He licked his lips menacingly.
Advertisements are trying to compete for placement. You wouldn't see an ad for children's toys in the middle of the night when all those naughty adult movies are shown. So in addition to performing the ad, the contestants will have to choose their time slot from our lovely channel guide. But be warned, every item on the wheel has 10 channels it can be paired with. Choose the wrong one, and you'll be punished. If you are punished for picking the wrong channel, we will move to the next contestant, and they will make an attempt. This will go back and forth until one of you films an ad. With that, why don't you both spin the wheel? You first, Nicole.
Nicole may not have feared the flower, but she did fear the wheel. Her toe throbbed from the forced surgical extraction, and her heart pounded as she reached down and grabbed the peg nearest to her. She spun.
Ring around the dandy, hear the flowers shanty, breaking, cracking. Where will it land?
It came to halt on a pink widget. In large black letters it read, "Sell the Dandy Double Door."
Oh, the dandy double door. I feel you'll be good at this one, Nicole.
What is it?
She asked.
You could see the sample after you pick your time slot.
She began panicking. Her hands ruffled through the hair on the top of her head. A small metal post extended from the axis at the center of the wheel. Then, like a giant umbrella, metal widgets matching the size of the wheel's widgets sprouted. They connected and laid down over top of the wheel like a giant swimming pool cover. The metal surface was perfectly shaped for the projector, which extended downward from the ceiling. It displayed a television guide, which only had 10 channels. The runtime for most of the things on the list were half an hour, except for some documentary titled The Bioluminescent Fungus, which was nearly 2 hours in length.
Now, Nicole, you must select a television show to air the dandy double door.
The flower was bobbing back and forth as it excitedly waited.
Can you at least give me a hint as to what the fuck I'm selling?
The vine beast remained silent.
Alright, I guess I should go for something a little more neutral.
She fixed her hair, her hands shaking as she did so. She surveyed her options.
I think I'm going to go for Night of the Gunslinger. That sounds like a drama or something like that.
Ooh, interesting choice, Nicole. And
He paused for dramatic effect.
that is the correct time slot. You got it on the first attempt. Seems like you've lucked out, George. Let's see if you can film the ad.
The two of them teleported into the room with the mannequins. However, now they donned clothing that could be purchased from the nearest bucket and buck. A few had glasses with a bead necklace expansions and knitted scarves. Others had walkers with tennis balls beneath the rubber stoppers.
All right, Nicole. Now that you've seen your audience, would you like a sample advertisement?
She nodded, her eyes completely dry. She'd cried all the tears she could spare. She turned her head towards the screen over top of the crowd of mannequins, and sad music began echoing throughout the room. This was followed by an elderly woman, staring into the camera longingly.
I knew the offer they had was too good to be true,
She said, wiping a tear from her eye.
They told me it would be 40% off, but they lied.
The camera dramatically shifted to the woman, struggling to clean a dented, shoddy door.
I want to replace it again, but I can't afford it.
There was a crescendo, an unseen instrument, revealing a man in a yellow suit, standing behind the woman. It was famous voice actor Paul Waldo, the voice behind Dandy. He had an extremely wide smile, just like Dandy, and the blonde hair on the top of his head was perfectly styled. His skin, too, was glowing. It had all combined to give him the appearance of an extremely handsome man.
Don't worry, ma'am. I'm here to help.
He was speaking in Dandy's voice.
See, I'm not just a voiceover artist for the hit show Dandy. I'm also a majority shareholder in Dandy's Doors, the company that actually provides the discounts they promise in the ads.
The scene shifted to the elderly woman jumping up and down in dramatic fashion in front of the door.
Wow, I can't believe it,
she exclaimed.
That's right, whether it's a handyman or a dandy man, the double door special is right for you.
There was static. Nicole turned her attention to the props behind her. She was partially relieved. She had managed to select the right time slot for the advertisement despite having no idea what she was advertising. All she had to do now was sell it just like she had in the first round. However, this time she knew she couldn't use her sexuality as a tactic. Or could she? She immediately began rifling through the racks for the right attire and smiled once her hands fell upon what she was looking for. She took out the vintage nurse's outfit, one worn in the 1950s, and stepped back to center stage. Her face turned towards the floor as the scene began. Then, dramatically, she looked up towards the camera.
Good luck, Nicole,
said the snarling beast in the corner.
Just remember, don't plagiarize.
Vim said the final word with distaste. Nicole ignored him and gave her speech.
It all started with Mrs. Gilbert. Then I saw it happen to Mrs. Smith. One after another, they all got scammed out of their hard-earned money. As a traveling nurse, I opened so many doors. And do you know how many times I've opened brand new doors that squeak?
She shook her head in disappointment at the rhetorical question.
It's ridiculous. I searched for a solution, and that's when I was shown Dandy's double door special. Buy one door, get the other free. Call now and talk to me personally.
She looked back toward the ground and began wincing. She dared not look at the result of her attempt. Her fists were clenching at her sides, nearly drawing blood from her own palms. The sound of the bar filling was wreaking havoc on her nerves, yet the longer it lasted, the more relieved she became. Then there was cheering, and all the tension in her body faded.
Now that's how you play the game,
interrupted Vim. The flower, for once, seemed pleased with the performance.
You are beginning to understand the value in this lesson, Nicole.
Nicole didn't respond. The scene shifted. The three of them were in front of the wheel once more.
All right, George, it's time for you to spin the wheel.
Now that George had seen the man behind the mask, there was no fear.
I think it's funny. You have this large plan to show us getting murdered, and yet Nicole completed her advertisement first try. What are you going to do when I do the same? Are you going to cheat and kill us? Then your precious lessons mean nothing.
Spin the wheel.
The beast pounded his fist against the wall, and though they knew the man behind the false face, there was fear. It wasn't the loud noise, it was the fact that there was a zapping noise threatening him. More than anything, George did not wish to be electrocuted again. Reluctantly, with an aggressive flick of the tongue, he spun.
Ring around the dandy, sing the flower shanty, gushing, rushing, where bird land.
The wheel came to a halt on something close to home for George. At least, that's what he thought based on the item's name. It read, Sell Dandy Juice. George, though he took the name as an insult toward his own energy drink, was relieved to see that he, too, was going to get through the second round easily. The wicked smile, almost more devious than the one of the flower, returned to his face.
Hot damn,
he said excitedly as he turned in a circle and clapped his hands together.
I feel like I'm on a hot streak here, buddy. I could sell energy drinks in my fucking sleep.
The man was willing to play chess with the flower.
Not so fast, Eagle One. You must place your advertisement.
Vim placed the opposing king into check. The metal umbrella once again sprang open, revealing the television guide. The flickering on the screen, laying over top of the wheel, was just as grainy as the ancient airing of Dandy that led down this path of murder. George looked nervous.
Do I get to read the description of these shows?
He tried to sacrifice a piece to simultaneously block the attack of the flower and turn the attention away from the king. The flower did not bite on the gambit.
Choose or pay the price. Do you know what the price is, Georgie? It's checkmate, Georgie. That's what it is.
He quickly surveyed the choices once more. His eyes fell upon something called The Day After the Day That Came Before. Even Nicole recognized it was a bad choice, and she turned her head in fear for what was about to happen to the man.
Come on, George, said Vim. You call yourself a marketing mastermind, and yet you pick a drama to sell an energy drink. It must pain you to miss the target, especially when the weapon is so familiar.
George began jumping up and down, rolling his neck around his shoulders, preparing himself for what was about to happen.
Alright, stop with the fucking speech. Just do what you're gonna do, so I can pick a different... Oh, fuck!
Before he could finish, the flower had popped up behind him.
Mama had a baby and its head popped off.
Vim threw the man over the podium. There was a resonant thud that echoed throughout the chamber when he landed on the steel umbrella. As the man cowered, the projection of the television guide disappeared. An extended vine drug on the ground behind the flower. It was the same whip that had been used on Jacob. There was more energy in the motion this time, almost as if it were excitedly wagging like a dog's tail. George began to turn and plead, but before he could, the thorn whip landed on the front of his chest and face. It stuck to him, acting like a vicious piece of Velcro. He ripped it free, causing multiple small holes to spray blood outward.
Fuck!
Screamed the man. His hands shook with a mixture of pain and adrenaline.
God fucking damn it!
He slammed his head against the metal surface to distract himself from his pain.
Return to your podium and pick again, George.
There was almost boredom in his voice. George, who was still lying on the metal umbrella, began to throw a tantrum.
No, you said if I picked wrong, then she had to pick. It's her fucking turn to pick.
Don't dish this onto me, asshole.
I'm afraid Nicole is right. She has already completed her round. Our friend Jacob is newly deceased, so that means you must pick again.
Fucking shit!
He yelled, holding his arm across his chest. He had blundered in an attempt to save himself, and the frustration was clear. There was a comedic rewinding sound, which placed George back at his podium. He stumbled forward, but managed to catch himself. The weight of the man nearly collapsed the podium, and a dribble of blood ran down over the name tag on the front.
Pick again, George.
The guide appeared, causing the man to curse under his breath. He frantically searched through it once more. This time he was more diligent. He read all the titles closely, tried to associate them with a specific genre. The first trash droid seemed like a documentary. Perhaps it could keep the audience awake.
Yeah, let's go with that. I choose the first trash droid.
Nicole knew it was the wrong choice and put both hands over her head.
Oh, fuck, please make this stop. Why can't you just pick a normal fucking television show?
Shut up, bitch. That was the right choice. I know it.
He looked at the flower, unsure if his choice was correct. The flower was still directly behind him. Vim patted him on the shoulder.
Oh, buddy, you couldn't have been more fucking wrong. Tell me, what purpose does it serve to sell energy drinks to a bunch of people who are trying to educate themselves?
With one gory blow, the flower plunged a pointed piece of wood through the man's chest from behind. It sent a burst of blood onto the guide, and the man reached for it. His hand wrapped around the point. As he fell to his knees, he was gagging, seemingly drowning as the blood filled up his chest cavity.
Well, it seems we have one contestant left.
Vim strolled around the podium and looked at the camera.
While he bleeds out, I suppose I can tell you all why what I'm doing matters. Dandy teaches those before it is too late. But you see, the world needs a strong hand to correct those that didn't hear the original message. That is...
Ugh, wait.
Said George, coughing.
I know this isn't real blood. It just feels like it. If I just concentrate.
Vim turned, obviously annoyed.
Well, somebody isn't quite finished. Checkmate is checkmate, George. So let those droopy eyes blink one final time and go to sleep.
The man was fading in and out of consciousness. Blood dripped from a series of holes ascending the right side of his face and catching at his eyes. He gave a wicked smile.
I'm not going to sleep yet, Weed. I can do this.
He clawed his way up the podium and squinted through his wet eyes at the blood-covered guide.
I choose Dandy. That's what you want.
He coughed.
You want me to pander to the fucking cartoon?
Vim got right into the man's face.
All this punishment, and you still haven't learned, George. Selling energy drinks to children is the reason you are here.
Vim reached out with both hands and crushed the man's trachea.
Stay tuned for more.
And welcome back. Thus concludes round 2 of Ring Around the Dandy, our third episode of Vim. I'm currently sitting here with the voice of our newly deceased contestant, George, aka Dekota. So obviously you've heard me talk about all of these ideas I have for this show, and all of the things I want to write. And you've told me before how you find it interesting to see it all come to fruition. So how does it feel to just kind of like be part of the process this time?
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me onto your show. Definitely super cool to see it. But yeah, honestly, it's super cool to be able to see essentially the concept of the Shepherd's Cast and now being able to see it kind of unravel and even seeing the process of how you go about the different lines, different editing. Definitely really cool to see it all come together now.
Yeah. I think it's really funny how you have this growing pile of memorabilia from this show slash the books and flyers that are all hanging on your fridge currently.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where I'm like Helga from Hey Arnold. I'm just trying to have your little shrine in my closet.
So let's take a second to talk about George, your character. First of all, congratulations on being the first voice actor to die on this show.
It's a great honor to be the first death as a special guest.
Honestly, the Sacrifice of the Month Club thing still hasn't happened yet, so you're kind of the first death period on this show.
Huh, didn't think about that, but that's true.
Let's just talk about George for a second. So, I know when I came to you with this role, I was like, I need you to just kind of play like an energy drink salesman that's very over the top, and he's being taught a lesson from Vim. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, maybe a little bit.
Whenever you first pitched the idea to me, I thought, oh, yep, this guy's an asshole. He wants me to be the biggest, cockiest asshole possible. But you know what? I could probably do that. And as I'm playing as this character, I'm really like feeling like a slimy businessman just trying to exploit people. And it kind of reminds me of just taking like the evil route in a video game.
Yeah. Yeah. He really is just kind of like, I try to write him as a very slimy individual, and I think we got the point across. And honestly, your voice acting helped with getting that point across very well. You were kind of the person I had in mind when I had this character. So I'm going to ask you a question about ethics, because I did a whole thing about the ethics of advertising, which I didn't even know was a thing in the last episode, and kind of just reading into what it means to do ethical advertising. And I very obviously tried to violate all of those rules when designing each of these characters. And with your character, it was about marketing things to groups that shouldn't be marketed to, like selling energy drinks to children kind of thing, because of obvious like health defects and things like that. My question to you would be, do you think like Vim's actions are justified in this cause, or is it just kind of like one of those things where two wrongs don't make a right?
To me, ever since I've been following along with this story, I've already said it before, it reminds me of kind of like Jigsaw in a way. Kind of the whole, you've done wrong and you're on a hard choice of redemption. You can pick a very difficult choice to potentially save your life, or you might fall through the cracks and fail. And I think it's really cool to be able to seize that, but then be able to put that into something that's more of a regular everyday life as social media or advertisements throughout the internet.
Yeah, that was kind of the idea of this whole story, right? Is I wanted to do a Jigsaw slash Squid Game slash, a lot of the horror games that are popular with like integrating game shows and children's cartoons and things like that, and give it like a big sci-fi twist. There's a lot more coming in that regard with this story. All right, so I think the way I would like to close these interviews is kind of just get your ideas on where you think the story is going, slash how do you think that Vim is going to progress, slash who do you think Vim is?
That's a fantastic question. I haven't even thought that far ahead. I would think that Vim has to be somebody that was probably affected by these advertisements of some way, shape, or form, for him to have such vengeance against people that have done him wrong. Now, I am curious to see if anyone walks out of this alive. I'll be curious to see if Vim himself gets away with it scot-free. He'll be able to slip through the cracks, or if he'll get busted in some way, shape, or form. It'll be an interesting roller coaster ride for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot more of a challenge to take to take on compared to Nightmares of a Shepherd, because I was able to just pack a short story after short story, and the most I did was like 4 parts, and that was the Hoarding Games, which was actually, I think you said your favorite story, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that was the one that took the most out of me, honestly, because it was like trying to write all 4 pieces in order chronologically, and this is so much more than that. I'm trying to write an entire book in chronological order without changing anything. And again, I mean, it is the rough draft, so if there are issues that I find later, I can go back and change them before the release of the book. But, yeah, all of the questions you have, I believe, will be answered throughout the course of this season. And I believe that's where we can end this episode. And I can throw it over to you. You can take us out of here. Hit it with the catchphrase.
May the flock disperse until we congregate again.